Well, my bag of suckers is now almost entirely grape and sour apple.
The ones you
'Cause
don't
who
like.
the fuck likes grape and sour apple suckers?
I agree with you on grape. Sour apple,
No,
I find all right. But I
no.
guess what are the other options? In comparison to what?
Oh, like cream soda, watermelon, orange, butterscotch,
All right, three of those.
strawberry.
Three. Okay, that one also.
I think there's a what is the blue like? Is it some is it raspberry or coconut? There's a blue one. Blueberry? I don't know. Whatever the blue one is good.
I agree with you on most of those. Watermelon is gross. I don't like watermelon flavored candy at
Really?
all. Yeah.
I don't like cherry as much. Out of all the
Yeah.
red flavors, cherry is the bottom of the rung to me.
Right.
Oh, bubblegum's another one I'm not a big. I don't like
No.
either. That's
No
another
thanks. I
flavor. I
would
don't.
not.
Why would they make? I don't. Yeah, that doesn't work.
Yep.
Anyway, welcome to Frostside Chat, our weekly live stream post-session discussion where we
We've
talk
been
about what
live
just
this entire
happened
time.
during D&D. Hey, we do those little fun banters before the show.
I just didn't know we were live this time. That's all.
This is the chat for. I sprung it on you. This is the chat for
Yeah.
session 35. So if you've not watched that session yet,
Offensive.
please go do that now because there will be spoilers. I am your DM and connoisseur of suckers, Eric, and joining me are fellow sucker connoisseur, well, Robin's player Chris,
Hello.
and Raymond's player. Nope, I fucked it up again. Enbin's player
Oh.
Raymond.
All right, Chris. I also like grape.
All right.
It tastes like fucking I don't know medicine. I don't know. What you know the weird thing is.
These are the good medicine though. That medicine when you were a kid that was like the purple paste that was like delicious.
No,
Diamond Tap.
is that
What's
the
it
good
called?
one?
Mm-hmm. It's
I
a
thought
grape flavor one.
I thought the good one was red. Here's the weird thing.
There's-
I like grapes. I
What
eat,
about Tesla?
I eat grapes all the time. I literally have oatmeal almost every morning, and I chop up grapes and strawberries, fresh fruit, put it in my oatmeal. I don't like grape flavored
No,
candy
I mean
stuff.
they're not comparable. Like candy flavors are a totally different thing from fruit flavors.
Yeah.
Like, cherries are great. Cherries taste delicious. Cherry flavoring, I agree with you, tastes like just pure sugar. I
Yeah.
just don't. It's not my thing. Strawberries. You know what? Strawberries. I see the most variation with strawberry flavor. Sometimes it tastes like actual strawberries.
Yeah.
Sometimes it tastes more like cherry. It's like just
That's
very
true.
sort of sugary, it's like syrupy.
Yeah, that's true. For the most part.
Grape has never tasted like grape. Grape tastes like some other alien thing
Yeah.
that's not even related to grapes.
I don't like the grape suckers. Or the sour apple. So yeah, this session, this whole chapter is tricky because there's not a lot of content, and it basically like here's what the dragon does is like a couple sentences, and in the entire book. So I attempted to transform that into like almost a dungeon crawl. Like I wanted to try to be like, okay, had you guys, gone through Dugan's Good Meat, it would have been kind of similar events like this. But this one I could go, and so I'm kind of inserting all that stuff into this one and making this my real showpiece. Like, all right, here's where you are. The dragon's here. We're in the middle of the shit. I can just include all of these events and kind of turn this whole town into one big, almost urban dungeon crawl. And maybe even insert a few maps in there, as you just saw.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is a Gabriel Picard, I believe, map called Village to Pillage. It's a whole series, and this one's called Pillaged Village. Village to Pillage, Pillage is like the kind of whatever. Anyway, and I've used another one of those maps in that same series in the place we just stopped, which is another combat map.
Yeah.
So basically, what I'm trying to say is all of this is mostly off book.
Okay.
Like the book dictates here, the dragon does go through 10 towns and does, but it's a couple sentences. It's like, here's what it does.
It doesn't tell you how to handle that with players, though.
No.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So I've had to essentially,
which I guess would imply, does the book as written even intend for it to be a player involved thing? That seems weird to me. They wouldn't even give like any sort of guidance in terms of like, here's how the players interact with that.
It doesn't do a very good job with that. No.
Yeah, it just doesn't give you much to work
Yeah.
with.
I don't. I can't say too much about the plans I have for the future regarding it.
Mm-hmm.
But as you can kind of guess, like I even had the dragon come in, and it was not a combat encounter, right? This
Yeah.
was like I used kind of similar inspiration with the dragon attack in Tomb of Annihilation, the initial one that came on when you guys were on the pirate ship or whatever. Yeah, it was a pirate ship. And it was like an environmental thing. It's like, oh shit, this thing is just flying in the air. It's launching its things. It's just destroying the shit around you. Basically, what's happening here is this was not meant to be a straight up like, okay, roll for initiative. This thing's gonna fly around and zap you. Like it's, we may get to that point at some point, but for right now, this thing is like an environmental hazard that you guys are just trying to survive as you go through the town.
Yeah, which I do think we got kind of figured out pretty quickly, or caught on to pretty quickly. Like, okay, we're not actually going to fight the dragon here. This is going to be like an ongoing dealing with the dragon's actions versus like, oh, the dragon's going to come down and fight us.
And I mean, I do have plans and plot points. Which one thing I did, and obviously you guys picked up on, is okay. I created a yellow exclamation point on the map that you guys are going towards, and then I even inserted that little NPC you guys love, the talking fox, and said, "Hey, just in case you guys weren't going to pick up on that."
I don't know why we hate him so much, but
it's funny.
Yeah. We said it was the voice.
Yeah, this is the voice. Yeah. That NPC you love to hate.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I do have some answers there because I know that one of the questions will be like, well, what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to like get on a roof and fight this thing? Like, what's going on? And you guys are picked up pretty quick. Like, okay, let's go towards there and try to, see what's going on. And then meanwhile, I can unleash all the different things I had planned for you guys.
Yeah, the way you described it to me, it was like I was getting vibes of like, this is a weird comparison because a lot of movies were with what's it called, the Blitzkrieg, but the beginning of the Chronicles of Narnia, where London's just getting bombed by Zeppelins, and you're just kind of like, you can't stop the Zeppelin. You just gotta deal with what's happening on the ground. You know what I mean? Like
that's a deep cut reference. The prologue to I forgot that was the backdrop, but you're right. It was in the war, and they get sent to the house with the wardrobe. Very true. But what'd you guys think about this scenario then? Because this was, like I said, this is not like the chapter itself. The event is in the book, but all the little minute details and things is all just shit that I kind of came up with just to give you guys some content. Versus like, hey, you guys are in the town, and just montaging that.
Yeah, no, I like this kind of stuff in general. The kind of just hey, there's not like necessarily goal oriented like like combat or dungeoneering type stuff, but like, hey, there's a house on fire and there's people in it. Do you guys want to help? If you want to help, how do you help? That kind of stuff. I think I like that stuff a lot. My only critique, and this is just a personal preference, you may just totally disagree with me and you keep doing it the way you want to do it. I'm not a fan of when you pull the curtain back and tell us, hey, you guys have 5 successes or 5 failures and it's going to go bad or good. I'm just not, I prefer to keep it in universe for us, the players.
Okay.
For maybe you to tell us like later, like, oh, you guys were, as you guys were trying stuff, I was counting out how many successes or failures. I don't know why, but it's just, when I'm playing, it's just a preference in terms of like, not gamifying it, like gamifying the situation,
okay.
I guess. I don't know.
No, that's fair. I think I was worried at first that you guys weren't getting it, and I wasn't doing a good enough job of explaining the situation, so I had to fall back on like. I think I was hoping that you guys would start like being like, okay, well, can I do this and then roll this to do this, and I would immediately pick up on that. But instead, it was more of a like, well, can I crawl through here? Can I go over here? And I'm like, yeah, I need you to roll something to like get past this.
That's my other thing is.
That was partially me as trying to do I haven't really done a formal skill challenge yet, where I literally was like, I'm going to keep track of successes and failures and see, because this is not a, you guys can totally fail this one completely, or you could, succeed it with your wild expectations and do all the different things. It's not in terms of it's just a total optional thing you're doing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think the only problem I have with that is, as a concept, is that it kind of breaks the rules of the players tell you, the DM, what they want to do, and then you tell them what to roll, which is generally the way it goes. So saying like, no, you guys tell me what you want to roll is sort of like, oh, okay, now I got to think about this differently. Now I got to think about like now I'm looking at my skills going like, all right, I haven't used acrobatics ever. Maybe I could use that here. You know, it kind of turns it from in-universe, like what would my character do, to, okay, now I'm looking at a list of options on my character sheet. More gamifying it, I guess.
I think that was the complaint of skill challenges in general too. It was too much of that. So it was a thought experiment. I probably could have done a better way of obfuscating.
I think as you ran it, it worked.
Yeah.
I think saying like, okay, here's a situation, you guys just tell me how you want to handle it is fine.
Yeah.
My only critique is just the like telling us like, oh, but here are the rules of the situation that I'm tracking on the back end to see if you succeed or not.
Okay.
That's my only thing. It's just,
I think it was just
like,
saving some frustration. Like if we all try to do the same thing, and we're like, why can one person do it but not the other?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I kind of had to tell you guys, like, no, you can't, because I wanted to kind of put some, basically I just wanted to get you, make you guys creative in doing things. I want everybody to be like, okay, we all lift the rubble out of the way or do something. I was like, well, I want everybody to do different things and have different tasks, like maybe somebody was a medicine check on something, or
someone try to blow up and incinerate the rubble.
That's right.
Yeah, I did write down that if somebody spent a resource to do something like a spell, then that does count as a success for something. So I'm glad you guys all, picked up on like, oh, well, can I just do this? I was like, absolutely, I'll let you do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Which for those of us without a lot of like physical skills, that's basically the only option. Like I can't talk my way out of that scenario.
Well, there was a few, like I even said, maybe one of the social checks, there was a social check to, I don't know, try and just persuade the father to like dig deep into it and really like immerse. Like if you would convince me how to do, to roll a check and made it convincing, I would have let you roll it, basically. That's the idea. There's very few ones that would have been like a no-go completely. I mean, investigation to try to figure out where somebody is, or perception to listen for their cries or whimpering. I wrote down like some ideas, basically. Like survival investigation to search for locations of people. Like, because this was all, I didn't have everything painted in my head. This was all completely nebulous depending on how you guys entered and what the layout was. There was no map here. This was all just theater of the mind. So this was outside of my comfort zone in terms of how I prep for an encounter, but it was really a kind of experiment to see how it works. So I think the feedback is very good for that you guys liked it, but you wanted to obfuscate the actual like
mechanical parts.
The mechanical parts of it, yeah.
And I mean, yeah, and I don't know about the other players. That's just me. Like when I try to think about back when I was DMing, like there were some mechanical rules in like the one that comes to mind is the last campaign, the boat thing, when you guys were in the canoe and you were going down the river. There were some rules that I had on the side, but it was just like, well, I don't want them to know what the rules are. Just let them tell me what they want to try to do, and I'll see if that works.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
And I don't know what you do about the scenario of like, well, everybody just says, well, I do the same. Hopefully, I feel we're better than that.
Yeah.
I would hope that we're not just like, oh yeah, we all just lift rocks up and like, I would hope that somebody's like, well, while you're doing that, you're doing the rock lifting, let me go, do something else.
That was the goal. Yeah. Everybody like chips in and does different things just to make it more interesting and dynamic.
Sure.
Which I think ended up being the case. So
yeah. Yeah.
I had it succeeded.
Yeah.
Whatever he did, it succeeded.
That's right. Yeah, it worked. Yeah.
I had in my notes that you were all going to get any inspiration from doing this, and then I realized this session, like, oh wait, I just gave everybody inspiration, and nobody's used it like in the no span of time there was between. So it's like that's not much of a reward. But I did write down that you get the potion as a last minute reward.
That was nice. If you tried to offer us like money or something, I feel like then it would have been like, no, keep your money. Like,
yeah, I agree. Yeah, it would have been a little bit weird for that.
But him offering like a combat potion that like he hasn't used in years, I was like, all right, I don't feel too bad about taking that off your hands.
So the idea was, all right, I'm going to sprinkle in like skill type stuff, combat stuff, and then trap stuff is obviously, or hazards is obviously the dragon directly, or any.
Sure.
One thing I had is like, oh, you have to run into a building and save it while it's collapsing. And I realized, well, that's kind of just what they did. So I'll probably scratch that one. But that would be like the example of like a trap that, it's something that could have the potential to do damage. Yeah, so that was the Trapped in Rubble was the first one. The Looters was another one, which was basically just a straight up fight. I did not expect it to last as long as it did, mainly because I tried to surrender because these are not monsters, they're just dudes. And, you know, after 2 rounds, I think you guys had taken down the leader, and they were all like, we want to surrender. But he's like, no, fuck no. I
Now,
was like,
hold
oh,
on,
shit.
hold on. I want to like parse this out like in like a realistic sense.
Yeah.
Because we get judged for being murder hobos a lot where I don't think it's valid. In a real scenario, like say like I'm trying to think like cops and robbers, but they don't have guns, they've got, you know, swords.
Yeah.
If cops show up, swords drawn, and say, hey, you know, lay down your weapons and come out with your hands up, you know, you're under arrest.
And they refuse.
And they charge full speed with their swords.
Yeah.
And just get into a fucking combat.
Yeah, fair enough.
I don't know of a scenario where they then get to like mid stabbing of the cops go like, oh no, never mind, you know, stop.
Yeah.
You know? It's over.
But that happens in battles a lot. Like if one side surrenders, technically, then it's up to the attackers. Like for example, in the Dwerger fight, that just happened, and they actually accepted the surrender, and they didn't execute all those Dwerger. So
yeah.
But that was, you know, again, hey, I'm not here to pass judgment. I'm just the DM. But I mean, really, it frankly doesn't matter to me. What matters is it made the fight last a hell of a lot longer.
It did.
Which the advantage there is we just didn't get as far as everything I technically planned for. But I thought we'd actually make it to the next fight, and then I'd end it after that.
Mm-hmm.
So instead, that fight, which is relatively easy, I thought for you. I mean, again, I'm treating this like kind of a dungeon crawl where it's like, okay, I don't want to have these huge fights. Instead, they're going to be broken up into little battles, you know, along the way because it's an extended area. What is with all these fucking like Russian spam messages? I don't.
What are these? They're just random text.
I'm not understanding what that is. Deleting them when I can. So this was just a bandit captain, like 4 thugs, I think, which are all very low CR attack.
Right.
Although bandit captain surprisingly like a 60-some health or something ridiculous.
Right. Yeah, he lasted for a while after getting crit twice.
Yeah. But yeah, you guys like doubled down on it and you know, got ham on the boss, and then it just took a while with and again, it's just with a slow spell was amazing because that worked so well on guys with crappy wisdom.
Oh.
And multi-attack and with pack tactics and stuff, so that was like really eliminated it. So you guys played it so defensively.
Waiting for
it was fun to see it like work so well. I think.
Yeah,
it's like the opposite of when you spell like, you know, everybody says it gets counterspelled or something. You're like, oh, okay,
right.
And this time I was like, oh shit, we get to actually like show a good example of how the slow spell works very well when you're engaged with a lot of these dudes.
It's best used as a mob of guys. I guess them having low wisdom is a bonus, but a mob of creatures with multi-attack is sort of the best case scenario. And it was like, oh yeah, all these humanoids have multi-attack. This would be great.
Yeah. So
well, I think part of it is half of our frontline damage doesn't have all her abilities right now.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
Our monk, who's half of our frontline damage, doesn't have half the stuff she can do.
Yeah.
So we got basically our 2 damage dealers. Well, I mean, Edmund does damage, but just not to the scale that Frey and Thimbleweed do.
Yeah.
So basically, it's Edmund and Valravn trying their best to like set up the rest of the party to do damage. I guess.
Yeah, which, you know, Frey does a good job of pulling everybody to her and just taunting and tanking everybody.
Yeah.
Which is effective here, so it was a relatively easy fight for you guys. It basically was a chance for you guys to showcase your abilities. So you got to showcase slow. You know, Edmund showcased fucking grabbing people with fucking Vine Whip and is getting everybody in the fire.
In Kanto House,
yeah,
in the fires.
The Kanto House, and then Frey obviously doing the rage, which she burned a rage. Which I was impressed she burned a rage during this scrub fight, but it worked well because she tanked like a motherfucker. She took like almost hardly any damage in that fight. Even though they were critting a couple times and doing that damage, so
yeah,
I don't even think she gets her extra attack, Jay. I don't think she has any other traits, that come from Monk, which technically extra attack comes from Monk. The only thing Chris was doing was, I think everybody can do it, which is if you attack, you can use a bonus action to attack with an offhand.
Yeah.
I guess I should have seen if you were attacking with like a one-handed mop or not, because I guess that technically matters, but I don't think we've ever tracked that. I guess you could unarm. You could kick people, so maybe you could still. I don't know. It gets a little tricky. But she's not a monk. She's a plant.
That's true. Yeah,
So it gets a little bit weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's
there's some stuff you can ignore as like there are the newer characters. There's some stuff that you like,
yeah. So I think that's how she does it. Which I did look at her. I think I changed her Spore Servant sheets because she doesn't get her monk damage either. So she only gets the 1d. Because as a Spore Servant, it does say you get 1d4 as your basic like punch attack for your weapon. So I'm all right with you doing that as a bonus action unarmed because I think everybody can do that out of the box. But yeah, it gets tricky. Yep. So yeah, that fight ended up.
She's not as effective, certainly. But...
No, yeah, that was a big debuff. The panicked crowd in the street. You guys did fine. You actually spent a spell, which I'm impressed by. That was just a simple, again, hazard coming at you. Like, how do you deal with this? And
I guess so. It's hard for us to tell as players sometimes. I guess this is a scenario. I'm guessing this is the psychology of what we see as players right now, of how long a day is going to last. But I think all of us kind of look at this dragon doing its thing and sort of maybe guess that we're not going to fight the dragon today. You know, so
I'd say that is a fair assumption.
So we don't feel as bad about like spending rages and spell slots on fights during the day because we're like, well, this day is not going to be a full-on dungeon with a dragon at the end of it. You know what I mean?
That's an excellent point. Yeah, and I think.
But we don't know. We don't know how long this day's going to last. That's the thing is that we don't know.
Yeah.
If do we need to conserve resources? Do we not need to conserve resources?
I think you picked up on that. On the one hand, I think your presumption is probably correct. On the other hand, you just did fight a battle. You've presumably got a battle I just teased with Dwerger popping out of invisibility, fighting people. You don't know what's in the town hall, so. There is, again, I tried to create a little bit of a dungeon thing here where you kind of have to pace your resources, but yeah, you can probably presume that, hey, if we're not actually going to...
That's it for the day, that's fine. Like, if it's that fight, this fight, and then whatever's in the shield, assuming the shield doesn't, lead to a dungeon. That's another 4 fights.
Yeah.
But if that's the case, then yeah, I don't feel bad about spending a spell slot on each encounter. It's fine.
Yeah, and you guys just went through the ringer with one full long rest with like 8 sessions and a whole big dungeon and all that. So
that was too much. Where we all went into like the final fight with absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And someone died because of
and because you guys split up.
That's true. That is true.
So yeah, I'm cognizant of all that. So
yep.
Yeah, I think you're doing a pretty good job of not necessarily holding all your shit in there, and realizing that. Yeah, you probably got some, even as fast as the dragon is, you can surmise it still has to make a giant,
Yeah.
You can probably calculate it from here. And I'm trying to, it's hard to do the timing in terms of how to keep track of, how far do the players get and they make it this far and then the dragon makes it this far and does this thing. I wasn't trying to keep track of that. I was just like, all right, what's the most cinematically interesting again, treating this like movie pacing magic where it's like, all right, when you guys make it a certain point now, the dragon's barreling down on you guys because it's been going this whole time. So that's all that is.
Yeah. And that's, that's stuff that unless you call attention to it, the players are never going to like, be like, oh, I don't know. This isn't adding up. I don't know, we're ever going to do that.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was very tricky creating this kind of situation. And I, threw a bunch of rubble tokens on this map thinking we'll probably be looking at this map for a while. And I was correct. We were, but hopefully I made it at least interesting with moving the icon around and having different events. And then I had planned for this whole other event. I've got a map set up and everything, but by the time we reached it, it was, I think, almost midnight. For this upcoming scenario, which I did tease the fact that Dwergar are out there sabotaging the towns while the dragon is attacking.
Not very smart on the Dwerger's part. Like, they're literally in the dragon's path. Like, the dragon does not give a shit if the Dwerger are there. Right?
It's pretty ballsy, yeah.
Yeah. I guess that they're okay with, dying for the cause, maybe.
Perhaps they're good at escaping. You don't know how many kind of different Dwerger stat blocks I've got.
That's true, I don't.
But yeah, we are still going to be in East Haven for next week, I believe.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to make sure even though this chapter is very short in the book, I wanted to make sure there's enough events going on in here, and I've got obviously some story stuff planned for the town hall. Hopefully I can do 2 crafting streams next week. I had to cancel Thursdays because we had the big snow day and the kiddo was home from school and everything, so
Yeah.
I'll get back to 2 next week. Anything else about session 35?
No, it's cool. It reminds me a little bit of what was the other one that was very similar to this, where it was sort of a series of events. The mountain, I guess? Is that the one?
Yeah, that's true.
We kind of had a map and you just sort of like, okay, here's the scenario, here's the scenario. Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of just looked at a map and it was, a series of events. That one was all more prepped out in the book. I just added a few more events on there.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a good point. And it did end up just kind of happy circumstances, but we just came off of a big like traditional dungeon crawl now to go over to this kind of overland series of events ones. That actually feels pretty good to go back and forth.
Yeah, for sure.
Between those two. And yes, Jay, I agree. It did work out for 3. That was one of the reasons I went ahead and went along with this session, because we weren't in the middle of a dungeon. It wasn't like a big story moment for Reese Rochelle's character. So I was like, you know what, we can go ahead and do this session, and I think it'll be pretty easy for us to continue with 3 players. So that helped too, just because of the way we were in the campaign.
Yeah.
All right, I think that will do it for this week's Frostside chat. Thank you to Chris and Raymond. Thank you to all the fans for watching, and we will see you all next week. We'll be back with a full crew.
See you then.
Bye.